You can start.
Hey everyone, my name is Kalyani Velamkonda. I'm Community Services Director for Mana American Telugu Association. If you're joining here for the first time, MATA focuses on a lot of community services activities. And as part of the community services and as part of the legal services, our honorary advisor, Mrs. Prema Roddam, is actually doing, a session with us today. And having said that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Kiran Dudagi, who is our president, MATA president, and to say a few remarks. Over to you, Kiran garu.
Hello, Andy. Hello, everyone. Good evening. And Kiran Dudagi, present. Now, we are running the immigration law seminar. This is very, very important at this particular time. The market is also volatile. A lot of things are happening. Then the immigration is the key for everyone to understand exactly what their rights are. So, thank you, Diya garu, and also Prema Roddam garu, for hosting this immigration seminar. It is very, very important for all the students and also the H1, because a lot of people who kind of came from India to here for their work and again supporting their families in India, if they are getting deported left and right, it will be very like uncertain situation and it's not a good thing. So everyone has to know exactly what the rights are and immigration procedures when these kind of things come up. So we have treasurer Sridhar Gudala garu. So you can just address the audience.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Prema ji and Kalyani ji, and also Diya ji for taking a valuable time in the busy season. And please make use of these great services from MATA, and that's all.
Yeah, our executive director Nagesh is also on the call. So Nagesh garu.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Kiran garu and Prema garu and Diya garu. Thank you for your valuable time spending with our MATA team to get this rolling. All the participants, please utilize these services in this special, volatile time to make sure you are in, following the rules and regulations which is governed by, government, and make the best use of it. Thank you for your time.
Yep. And Srinivas garu also is here.
Srinivas garu, yeah, our founder and advisory council member, Srinivas garu.
So I want to thank Prema garu and Diya, and just taking their time to come and share their wisdom and then guidance to the needy people right now. Whenever we open a YouTube channel or any Indian channel, there are a lot of information and a lot of news that are disturbing to our Indian families. We are also receiving a lot of phone calls. Hey, what can we do? How we do? Yeah, I need Prema garu and others to kind of give them a realistic picture. What are the real problems that the students and other H1Bs are facing, and how do we approach it? If there is a real issue, what are the next steps? What they need to do? Understand their rights, and then what are the procedures? That's where our community need a clear guidance if there is a real issue. That's what we wanted to get out of this meeting. Thank you so much, and thank you, Kalyani and Kiran and all the executive director and the community services team, and then you're putting together this program. Please go ahead without further ado. Thank you.
Hi everyone. I'm so glad MATA is conducting so many community services, and this is the prime time to have information about the immigration. And I have forwarded this meeting information to all the consultancies of my friends. So I hope they all going to utilize this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Srinivas garu. And a couple of things actually. Kiran garu, would you post that link so that everybody can fill it up in parallel?
Yeah, we'll fill that in the meantime, so they can start the session.
Sure. I'll hand it over to Prema garu now.
Thank you, Kalyani, and thank you, Kiran garu and Srinivas garu, and to MATA for putting this webinar together. I think it's very important and timely that we do this now to address some of the concerns, but understand that we are also learning as we go along, and it's all a lot of it is new for us also. We wake up every morning to something new. So we are trying to maneuver through all these different changes and help our clients and the community to the best of our ability. So with that in the background, I just want to say that whatever we are discussing here today is not legal advice. It's general information we are providing to the community to help out. And any questions you may have also, please make sure that they are more general in nature and not very specific to your case. We have to be mindful of maintaining privacy and confidentiality. So it's very important that we, adhere to these rules. It is now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today, Diya Mathews. Diya Mathews is a partner and attorney based out of Chugh, New York and New Jersey office, Chugh LLP. Her practice focuses primarily on business immigration law, corporate compliance, and related services. She advises on a full suite of visa types, including H-1Bs, L-1s, family visas, green cards, citizenship applications, investor visas, and many, many more. She's received her LLM from University of Michigan Law School, where she was Michigan Grotius Scholar and J.N. Tata Foundation Scholar. She also holds a law degree from Nalsar in Hyderabad. She's an active member of several organizations like TIE, AILA, which is the American Immigration Lawyers Association, and the South Asian Bar Association as well. I'm very fortunate to have worked with Diya and consider her as a mentor and a friend. So thank you, Diya, for being here today.
Thank you for the kind words, Prema. Thank you for having me. And,
thank you.
It's been a pleasure for me also to know you for such a long time and to work together. So good to be here.
Thank you. Just a little background about myself. I'm an immigration and a corporate attorney. I currently work in-house at a technology company as a general counsel. And I also am involved with several nonprofits, including MATA, to serve our community. So with that in the background, let's just delve into some of the pressing issues that the immigration landscape is facing these days, and especially in the last few weeks since the new administration has taken over. So Diya, let's jump straight into the elephant in the room as the biggest issue that people are facing, which is the F1 visa and related revocations. Can you tell us a little bit about what exactly is going on and what is the premise behind this disruption and so much of commotion right now?
Right. So, Prema, as you mentioned, this is something that has been haunting us all since I think end of last week, right? Thursday, Friday last week when it started. So, what do we know at this point? We know that it started, I think, with the Department of State, right, which is the consulate. It looks like they initiated some sort of a check. And the way that they are doing this, it looks like they're using some kind of algorithm, some AI-based algorithm to run a check on their internal databases. And they're revoking the visas. They revoked the visas of F1 visa holders who've had some kind of encounter with law enforcement, some kind of criminal encounter, even if these cases have been dismissed or expunged. Or even if, in some cases, some of the students that I spoke to, they were actually the victims, and I guess they were named in the police report or, maybe they were detained for some time, but they were actually the victims. And even for them, the visa has been revoked. Now, after the visa was terminated, and of course, this is done by the Department of State. So following that, the SEVP in the US proceeded with terminating the SEVIS records of these students. And when the SEVIS record is terminated, as you know, then their student status kind of comes to an end. What is interesting is that these SEVIS terminations are not initiated by the university or the college, or by the DSO, but it is by the government, right? And so we end up with both the visa revocation and the SEVIS terminations. At this point, it's still not clear what the extent of these cases is, right? I feel like there's a huge number out there from, from a lot of colleges. In the media, I think New York Times or one of them reported 150 to 300 cases, but just discussing it amongst the attorneys themselves, I feel the number is much, much more. So, so that's what we have at this point.
Yeah. And does this apply to those that are on OPT, CPT based? Those, some of them may be working, but still on the F1 OPT, CPT programs?
Yeah. And so it has a disparate impact, right? Some of these students who've been impacted, they have, probably started the program or they're in the middle of their program. Some of them, many of them, unfortunately, they are very close to graduation, or, they're very close to defending their PhD thesis, right? Spoke to different kinds of, students at different stages in their F1 journeys. Some of them are in the process of applying for their OPTs because you apply for the OPT at a certain point, certain number of days before graduation. So when the service is terminated, it means that obviously they cannot now proceed with the OPT. So yeah, so that's what we have at this point.
So I've heard, and some people have spoken about this, like the types of infraction that causes this, right? Even minor infractions, sometimes if you've had, speeding tickets or even an arrest warrant which didn't lead to any charges, even those things are apparently leading to cancellation of the visas. Can you speak a little bit towards that?
Yeah, and that's what makes it so unfortunate, right? As I said, there are even some cases where it clearly has to be a case of mistaken identity, because the student is not aware of any kind of issue or any kind of complaint or any encounter, right? Now, obviously, there are cases where somebody has been convicted, or maybe they are in probation, or they are awaiting some sort of order from the court, right? So those are cases which are in
Those are
one
clearly, cases that fall in that category.
Yeah, they were picked up by this check that they were doing. But then again, as you said, right, there's also cases which are very minor, right? Maybe somebody maybe they got into some sort of they had a misdemeanor arrest, and they were let go. The cases were dismissed. Maybe they had a one-time DUI, right? And DUI, of course, has to be taken seriously. But it might just have been a one-time DUI, and they are probably on some diversion program, etc. But it seems that all of them have been impacted the same way, right? So
Very
I just it's unfortunate. And I think for some people it's been it's also been a little bit of a learning curve, understanding the difference between the visa revocations and the status termination, right? So I just want to talk a little bit about that, if that's okay.
Sure.
So the visa stamp in the passport, and that, so normally when a student comes in, they get a 5-year visa stamp, right? Now, the visa stamp is really relevant only for purposes of entry into the US. So once you've entered the US, the visa stamp in your passport is not really relevant anymore, right? So it's kind of like, I give this analogy of, somebody coming on a plane. Once you've taken the plane and come to the US, and you've gotten off the plane, then you don't need to look back at that plane anymore, right? So the visa stamp itself is like that.
Yeah.
So once they are here, they are then admitted. Most students are admitted for duration of status, which means that they are good as long as they are maintaining lawful student status, right? And so what happens is that with the service termination, they are not considered to be in lawful status anymore. And again, it is particularly unfortunate for students who are close to graduation or who are about to apply for OPT. So
this is where the expedited removals and how much time does one have if they are in this situation?
Yeah.
What do they expect in terms of timelines?
Yeah. So so again, as you said, Prema, right, we are also learning in the process, right? And nobody wants to hear this, but there's no perfect answer. There's no perfect solution. I think with most immigration attorneys too, they're trying to assess the situation, and every day there's something new. Maybe we are hearing about more cases, or maybe we're hearing about some court matters getting dismissed, etc. So I think you have to really work. My advice would be don't sit on it. You know that you are, your DSO has probably informed you that your service has been terminated. Then the next step is, please speak to an immigration attorney if you haven't yet. So in terms of solutions or, what to do next, my advice in general, or, my opinion in general would be that if you are close to graduating, then you should probably try and complete the program, right? Because we are in April and May is when a lot of people can expect to graduate. They have very little coursework left, or maybe they have exams to take. Now, the good thing is that many of the universities, I think most universities, at least in New Jersey, where you and I are, many of them don't really stop students from attending classes, even if their service is terminated, right? What they say is that they don't really care about immigration status. They do care about academic standing and things like that. So even if your immigration status has been terminated, you can, there's a school will probably let you continue going to classes and taking your exams and all of that.
Right.
So if it were me, I would prioritize completing the program as, and kind of, staying on. The second, and this is, I think, what everybody's talking about. Second, if you know that this service termination was because of, a minor issue, or, a mistaken identity, or one of, something, for a case that, was ultimately dismissed, etc., then the student can also consider filing for reinstatement. Now, reinstatement has, has disadvantages and advantages. So the main requirement with reinstatement is that, you should not have, had a status violation, immigration, you should not have been out of status for more than 5 months. So if it is, if it's been a recent development, the status violation, then you probably would qualify for reinstatement. And with reinstatement, you have to obtain some documents. You have to get a reinstatement I-20 from the DSO, from the school, where they recommend you for reinstatement. And, as long as you have all the other documents, showing that your case has been dismissed, your criminal case has been dismissed, or, was pled down, etc., you can probably file for reinstatement. The problem with reinstatement, though, Prema, your experience, I'm sure has been the same, is that it's not very quick. And
Yeah, takes time.
Yeah, it takes time, and unfortunately there is no premium processing for it. So you can ask for expedited action, like if you're working in a, if you, for example, if you are close to OPT, or maybe you have a job offer, you can, and you're in a, STEM field, a critical field, etc., maybe you can ask for expedited processing. But as to when, how long the reinstatement will take to be adjudicated, we don't know. So it could take anywhere between 3 to 9 months. I'm also hearing of some people who filed for reinstatement but have already been denied. I'm not sure, this is just anecdotal information, so there's no way to verify it. But that's some reinstatement is relatively easy. It's a relatively easier measure to take. So
Yeah.
I would encourage people to do that.
And keeping in mind that there may be a lot of these applications now, given the situation, so the adjudication times may be even longer.
Yeah, exactly. They were anyway not, very very fast with these cases. So and now with all, students probably filing for reinstatement, it's probably going to clog the, the adjudication timelines even more. So, what is interesting is some students don't even know what the reason for the service termination is, right?
I've heard that too, yes.
Yeah. So the question that they ask is, hey, when we file for reinstatement, what do we say? How do we show that there is nothing against us? And even the DSO is not able to give any information, right? So I've heard that the Indian consulate has also been reaching out through different channels, and they're trying to get information. And with some cases, the Indian consulate has been able to apparently connect with the Department of State, the US Department of State, and verify if it was a case of mistaken, identity, similar names, those kind of issues. So in those cases, the Indian consulate has also been trying to help. So I would encourage students to try to take help from them too.
Yeah, that's a good point, because they are in a position to verify certain things and give, like, their input. If there is if it indeed is a case of mistaken identity or anything that they can clear from their end, definitely something to consider.
Yeah. Of course, it's not going to be very quick, but it's still worth reaching out to them.
Now, I know there are a lot of organizations that work in this space, nonprofit, AILA, and all. What, if anything, are any additional remedies, any lawsuits that are being filed that students can join?
Yeah, there's also some opinions out there that a federal lawsuit might actually be a more effective remedy in this case. Of course, not everybody can afford to file their own private lawsuit, because each lawsuit is, obviously, if you file your own suit, it's going to be a pretty expensive affair, unless you find an organization willing to do it on a pro bono basis for you. Prema, so you work with, you're the president of, you've had lead positions in SABA and other organizations. I think, the American Immigration Lawyers Association and the Immigration Council, they will probably have a lawsuit, I'm thinking. There is talk about doing a class action or a mass action in this case. And, I'm sure the callers on this line probably have been reading up on that. But joining a class action might not be a bad idea. There is apparently a few firms which have started doing that already, and they have probably, I think you can join them for a relatively lower cost. Because it's a cost action. It's a class action, so you can get in for a smaller fee. The advantage of being in a class action is that if they get a benefit, if they get an order from the court staying at it, then it applies to everybody in the class.
Right.
So,
and it could be retroactive too, depending upon the, what the outcome is.
Depending on the relief that they seek and what the court is able to give them. So it might be worth looking into. And the other question is whether you can do both, right? Both reinstatement as well as join the class action. I think the attorneys leading the class action might say that, you cannot have both. You might then be required to withdraw the reinstatement. So that's, that's something to be discussed with them.
Right. And one other thing that I was going to mention is that, like, some of the students may have this question: how much back are they looking at if there was a minor infraction or an arrest? I think that they're going back to as far as they can. If an arrest comes up, then
Right. So that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked that, because there's also we have to take into consideration the length of time that you can be here with this hanging over your head, right? So when you get the revocation notice from SEVIS, right, it has this language that you're advised to depart the US as quickly as possible, and you can report your departure on the CBP app, etc. And what is frustrating is that, so I think some students actively want to consider that, just departing the US. So you can always depart, but then the question is whether you can come back, right? Because the visa stamp has been invalid, it has been revoked. So you cannot use that visa to travel back. If you want to re-enter the US, then you have to apply for a new visa. And if you apply for a new visa, probably going to be denied because of, the case history and everything. Maybe you can apply for a waiver, but nobody can guarantee anything, right? Anytime a visa application is involved, there's uncertainty. So if you depart the US, and the other thing is you need an A number to report in the CBP app. Apparently, it doesn't give you the option to to enter to report your departure unless you have an A number. So the A number is different from the SSN. Somebody was asking me recently, can they put their SSN? No. Anytime there is a removal or a departure of this sort, then they need an A number to record. So students may not have an A number unless they have had some kind of immigration proceeding in the past. So that option, I mean, you can always depart, but you might not be able to report it on the app. Now, how soon should you depart? So remember, I said earlier that, I would try to finish the program, right? If I think I'm fairly close to graduation, But again, you don't want to be here for more than 180 days, right? And 180 days, as you know, in the immigration world has special significance, because if you are in the US, with unlawful presence, accruing unlawful presence for more than 180 days, then there is a bar to re-entry, bar of for 3 years, right? So you can pursue all these options, whether it is reinstatement or file joining the lawsuit, or maybe just not doing anything, just trying to complete your program and departing. But in any case, be mindful of the 180-day rule. Try to avoid being here, for more than 180 days, 6 months. It used to be different in the past, right? It used to be that students did not accrue unlawful presence unless there was a finding against them by USCIS or by an immigration judge. But with the new administration, they have tried to change that interpretation. And so they're saying that anytime there is a violation like this, a service termination, then the unlawful presence starts from that date. So the 180 days should be counted from the date the service termination happened.
From the termination date.
Correct.
So
That's very useful information.
So we have questions going in the chat if you would like to take, or do you want to wait until the end?
Can we just do a few more things and then open it up for questions?
Sure.
That way,
Yeah.
we can dedicate some time for questioning. So shifting gears a little bit, I know there have also been a lot of questions around travel requirements and what kind of documents to carry, and knowing our rights if we are questioned while we are traveling or re-entering the US. So can you shine some light on recent trends that we are seeing in this space?
Yeah. We used to get a lot of daily questions about it, Prema, until the student visa issue happened. I think that was the main problem. People were concerned about travel. I'd say in my experience, 99.9% of travelers are fine, right? A few people have had issues when they come in, and that, has been for various reasons, right? If they had, any kind of student status violation, or if there was any kind of criminal charge pending against them. Those cases have been scrutinized by CBP, and travelers have had to provide additional explanation, or maybe they have been detained or sent back in some cases. We also had a lot of concerned green card holders, right? Lawful permanent residents, asking if they could travel. And with lawful permanent residents, I'm just going to say green card holders, there's no problem with them traveling as long as the trips are short, right? So try not to be away for more than 6 months. Come back before 6 months. Up to 6 months, you're fine. Anytime you exceed 6 months, it's considered to be an application for admission back to the US. So CBP has a little more power over you. So better to avoid that and try come back within 6 months. But as long as the trips are short, there should not be a problem. And obviously have all the paperwork, available with you, whether it is a receipt or original green card, etc.
I've also heard that in some cases, depending upon who the person is, they're also checking social media accounts. They can go through your cell phones just to see if you have had any, anything that is against what the administration is looking for. Have you seen that?
Yeah. So, that is, I think as attorneys, you and I know that we have to be very careful, right, in terms of our laptops and cell phones. So so what happens is that at port of entry, CBP has expanded rights of search and seizure, right? Because of national security reasons, they have a lot of power over what they can examine. They can take your phone in, and they can look at the data in it. And we've had many travelers get sent back because CBP would examine their phone, like WhatsApp messages, and say that, oh, it looks like you're coming here to look for a job, and you shouldn't be doing that while you're here as a visitor, etc. And so they would send them back, etc. So you have to be very careful about social media. I mean, not just because of CBP, I think because with the current administration, they're really using that to check on, your political leanings. And I think there was this comment that even liking a post on, Twitter or one of these apps, one of these social media sites could result in you being sent back. So, and in fact, just yesterday, I think they released that advisory saying that they would look at your social media accounts for evidence of Semitic activity or anti-terrorist activity, etc. So it's best to delete all apps when you're traveling. Just all the non-necessary apps, I would delete them and not take your work laptop and things like that unless it's really, really necessary.
Sure, that's great advice. Thank you, Diya. And just one other topic I want to touch on before we open it up to questions. There was a lot of talk recently about this new alien registration requirement for children that turn 14 and this form that needs to be completed. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the basic requirement around that is that they want fingerprinting for anybody who turns 14 or over, right? So if somebody has come in when they were under 14 and they have turned 14, while they're in the US, then you're supposed to do this registration within 30 days. And then USCIS would presumably call you for, fingerprinting for biometrics, and then they have your fingerprints on file. So that way it's a relatively simple process. They want everybody to do this, whether you're documented, undocumented. The expectation is that everybody should be doing it, and there are penalties associated with not doing it. So I guess it needs to be done. The website is active, and you can actually go there and fill out the application. There was a lawsuit filed by the Immigration Council, American Immigration Council, against this, saying it's it's unconstitutional, etc. We just got the news that the complaint has been dismissed. The interesting thing is that the complaint has not been dismissed on merits. It has been dismissed on a technicality, like the plaintiff standing, the council's standing to bring the matter to court. So we might see them, it might get litigated further. So we'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, it's applicable and people should be doing it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about, Diya, before we open it up to questions?
I think the other question that people were asking is, Prema, on a related note with the F1 visa revocations, the question is, are they going to do this with other visa types like H1Bs, H4s? The Department of State has in the past done that. Like, very often you would find somebody was trying to travel and then CBP tells them, hey, your visa has been canceled, right? Has been revoked. Yep. So it's possible. We'll have to wait and see. So far, I've not heard of, like the way the F1 visa revocations have happened on such a big scale. So we don't know if that's, the next wave is going to be H1Bs or H4s. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, but more than likely it will continue with other,
Yeah, it is possible that they're doing it in phases. Yeah. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, very good information. Thank you, Diya. So I'm going to, we'll take some of the questions in the chat, and if it's something we've already addressed, we can skip it. Kalyani, in the interest of time, do you want me to go over the questions?
Yeah, please go.
Okay. One of the questions I see is there a possibility to change to B1, B2 visa and stay in the US until my service is reinstated? And after reinstating, and if I come back to F1, will I face any problem?
Right. So they're asking, so I'm guessing in this case, this is an F1 visa holder, their service has been terminated. And so they want to stay here. They want maybe do a change of status to B1, B2. So anytime you do a change of status to B1, B2, you have to be in status. So they will not, USCIS will not approve the change of status unless you can show that you are maintaining status. And so the question here is, if there is a finding that you have not been maintaining F1 status, whether they will approve the B1, B2, chances are probably going to be very slim. So I don't know if it's, whether I would advise filing for a change of status in a situation like that. That's something to be discussed with an immigration attorney and, see. But generally, that's the rule, that you cannot do a change of status unless you're maintaining valid status.
Right, right. Next question. Is it true that even though we started the process of reinstating or filing lawsuit, that ICE is taking people and making them depart from US or arresting them?
So I get the WhatsApp news too, and I have been seeing some, reports about this sort of thing, that ICE is visiting some campuses and trying to go after students whom they know the service has been terminated, right? I don't have enough information to verify it. I guess it is possible that, ICE will access this information and try to maybe, visit the students, get them to depart. But it's also important to note that students are not subject to expedited removal necessarily, right? Expedited removal is a process where you don't have access to an immigration judge, and officers can deport you without you getting a hearing. That usually happens at the border when you're coming in at the airport, etc. Right? They can send you back. With students, they are here, so I would think that they have the right to go before an immigration judge and present their case. So unlikely that that ICE can make them deport them without that fair hearing. But generally I would advise students to kind of lie low, or maybe if they can be in a safe location and keep not be on campus unless unless they are they have to be there for class or for exam. Just try to keep away
Better
from
to be cautious.
yeah.
Thank you, Diya. The next question is about the OPT card showing delivered in the portal, but didn't receive my card through the mailbox. I already contacted my DSO and UPS, but there's no solution from them. And he
Yeah.
submitted an inquiry, but what are the next steps?
Yeah, this happens. Unfortunately, this happens quite often, right? Not just OPT cards, all, many EAD cards, it happens. And the employer cannot onboard you for I-9 purposes. They cannot onboard you for work without the actual EAD card. So it becomes problematic. If it is clear that the EAD is lost, then you can, sometimes they do send you a replacement card. Like if you can give them proof that it was not delivered, etc. But it's rare. So then the remedy would be then to file for a replacement EAD, and maybe you ask for an expedite. Expedites, as you know, are very rarely granted, and now with everything going on, I'm sorry, I don't have good news, but you can request the expedite, right? Because maybe with employer supporting documentation, etc., and then file for the replacement EAD.
Yeah. The next question I have is, will the DUI case from 2018 affect the H-1B extension in 2025? I think we touched upon it, right? We don't know yet if they will go down to the other visa types.
Yeah. I think they will start with the visas, the Department of State probably. And so if it's, for somebody in the US, whether an H-1B will be, so we talked about this, right? Visa stamp and status in the US are two different things. It is possible that somebody's H-1B visa might get revoked based on this Department of State action. But as to whether USCIS will revoke an H-1B petition, for somebody who's approved and working in the US, I think those chances are relatively lesser.
Yeah, thank you. The next question we have is about, this person says, I was not having the renewal of my car auto insurance, and I showed them updated proof, and court asked me to give fingerprints and pay the challan, and the case was dismissed, but it was entered as an individual criminal violation, which is not legitimate. Can anything be done about it?
Was service terminated in this case? If it was, yeah, then unfortunately it falls into this bucket of cases where it was not really the fault of the student, it was outside their control, and still service has been done. So there is many of these cases, it's not, it's not because the student did anything wrong. As I said, there have also been cases where the student was actually a victim of a crime or something, and they've still been subjected to this. So unfortunately, we still have to go through the same process, reinstatement, or maybe getting a court ordered for reinstatement.
Right, right. The next question, I think we've addressed it already. If visa is revoked, does change of status help? We went through that. Is there a problem in traveling to India with new visa? I think we addressed that already. So I'll move to the next question. Let's see. Can you please share any details regarding the registration requirement on USCIS portal? Is it applicable to people on H-1B status, especially folks upgraded their immigration status from F1 to H-1 status? They're asking about a registration requirement on USCIS portal. I don't think it's required. You're on mute, Diya. Kalyani, can you check?
Okay, I got
Diya, can you
unmuted.
please unmute? You can.
I don't know what happened.
No. I think you are not the co-host, right? So now you are co-host.
Sorry.
You should be able to unmute. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Where were we, Prema?
I was just asking that the one question is about the registration requirement on
The
USCIS
registration.
portal.
Yeah.
Is it
Okay.
applicable for people who are on H-1B, and especially if they've recently switched from F1 to H-1B?
Yeah. So if you've come in on a visa and you were fingerprinted recently, right, after the age of 14, then you don't need it. You will see one of the exceptions to that is somebody who's, come in on a visa and they were fingerprinted at the time of the visa application. So think of it as, does the US government have your fingerprints on file after you turned 14? And so if they have it, then you don't need to do the registration.
Yeah. Next question, since reinstatement is not an option for STEM OPT people where service got terminated, do we know how much it costs for individual case and how long it can take for proceedings?
Yeah, it's worth looking at the class actions going on. I think several attorneys are trying to get applicants to join. I don't have an idea of the fees that they're charging, but because they are hoping to invite a large group of people to join, I would imagine the fees are, manageable.
Yeah, class action, if there is one, definitely that would be a more, feasible way to join cost-wise. The next question is, will H-4 work authorization renewal get affected by new policies? Will it also affect visa renewals in terms of the H-4 visas itself?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know if the question is that whether the H-4 EAD provision will be taken away, because the H-4 EAD, is a regulation, so that can be
That has
changed.
always been under attack in many ways, right? So
yeah, I don't think they can. I don't think they will take it away like that. But yeah, I mean, I guess in terms of and
the question is twofold: one about the H-4
EAD
work
itself,
EAD, and then the other H-4 visa itself.
The visa, yeah, I don't think there'll be additional. I mean, I don't think there should be any additional hurdles to getting an H-4 visa stamp for somebody who is, otherwise eligible for it, right? We do know that in the last couple of years, there has been an increase in the 221Gs for H-4 for various reasons, right? For example, if you had some sort of association with a consulting company, which, was filing a lot of cases in the H-1B cap, right? Multiple filings in the H-1B registration process, etc. And those kind of and those beneficiaries, if they tried applying for H-4 EAD, for example, I know that they would run into 221G issues. But other than that, I don't think there should be any there should be any legal roadblocks.
Yeah. I'm trying to sieve through so many questions. 1 second. The next one says, currently I'm in my final semester and going to graduate in May 2025. If I get positive response after reinstatement, can I get my OPT and STEM OPT?
Yeah. If they get reinstated, then there should not be a problem with applying for OPT or STEM.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a question about traveling overseas over the summer holidays with a green card. What kind of things should they be expecting?
Yeah.
What documents should they be carrying? I think we addressed it a little bit earlier when we discussed it.
Keep it under 6 months.
Are H4 EAD holders allowed to do multiple jobs?
Yes, they have the best of everything. So H4 EAD means that you have open market work authorization, so you can work as much as you would like or as little as you would like.
And there may, I think, be an obligation that the employer knows that you're having more than one job. That could be something you want to look into. But I haven't seen issues.
Yeah, that question comes up, right? So, I had this person who said they had 3 or 4 full-time jobs. I'm sure, there's a lot of people out there doing more than one full-time job, but the question was they had, I think, 4 full-time jobs, supposedly. And so all these W-2s, and then they were called for an interview, adjustment interview, right? So the concern was at the adjustment interview, if the officer sees 4 W-2s for 4 full-time jobs, how to answer that. So I said, how are you doing 4 full-time jobs? I can barely do 1 full-time job. But if you can answer, maybe it's a job that doesn't, require a lot. There's no law against it, right? Unless there could be a contractual, as you said, Prema, there could be a contractual, obligation. When you sign the offer letter, you have to be careful. There could be language in the offer letter, employment letter, saying that you can't moonlight or you cannot do jobs in the in the same industry, etc. So that you have to be mindful of. But from an immigration standpoint, you can work as much as you'd like.
One question is about visa stamping. Are there any issues traveling to India now to get visa stamping done for H-1B visa renewal? And is it okay to stay, in India while that is being done? I guess that we haven't seen much issues with that right now.
I wish I didn't have to say this, but honestly, my advice to anyone is don't travel unless you really have to, right? Especially if you have to go for a visa interview. There's so much uncertainty, and it's completely outside your control, right? Like if you have a 221G for mistaken identity, name issue, so yeah, you can go. I mean, if you think there's no other issue, but there's always uncertainty with the visa interview. That's the other rule, Prema, maybe, the other change, as you know, right, is the Dropbox, the interview waiver requirement has been changed. It used to be that if you had any kind of US visa in the last 4 years, then you didn't need an interview. But now they've changed it. And so they've said, unless you have a visa issued to you in the last 12 months in the same category, then you need to appear for the interview. So it's going to be a
change.
Yeah, that's a big change. And so it's probably going to be a very small group of people that qualify for this now, right? And I don't know why the consulates are doing it, because we know that they don't have the bandwidth really to manage so many interviews. But yeah, so that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah. I just want to acknowledge Tony Garu has posted a link on the chat group, which gives you a link to join the class action. So if you're on, Tony Garu, do you have any more information about it? Do you want to say anything about it?
I think we have to unmute him. Let me try. Kiran Garu, can you try?
Tony, Tony is our, yeah. Hello, Tony?
Can you unmute him, Kiran Garu?
Yeah, I unmuted you.
Hello?
Okay.
Yeah, hello, Ni. Yeah, good
Hello.
evening, everybody. Hello, Diya. Hello, Prema Garu.
Hello.
Hello, Avyani Garu. Hello, everybody. Yeah. Again, my name is Tony Janu. I'm the national coordinator for MATA. Sorry, excuse me. I'm still in the office. But one of our sponsoring attorney, Madhu Paturi Garu, she was the first one to respond as soon as this happened. She jumped in. She was like, we should do something about it. And she has also started a class action because she has been receiving a lot of requests from students, and last I heard was in hundreds. So I think she's the one that she's pursuing something regarding this. So if any of the students that are affected, or that or of somebody that might have been affected, please use the Google form that is posted in the chat box, that you can use to give your information, and God willing, something good will come out of this through the class action. And she's very, very conscious about the students, and your financial situation, and she's very conscious about that, and she's actually working with a few nonprofits that are joining force with her. So that's kind of a news update from my side. And thank you so much, for this wonderful session. I know we should do more of this. I think there is a need for more of this.
As many as we
the
can do.
rules.
The need is now. People have a lot of questions, and the more we talk and discuss these things, the more, some kind of assurance and updates can be given.
100%.
So thank you so much for that
Thank you.
update. And I'm sure
Thank you
many
so
of
much.
you will make use of it and join the class action.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, there are several class actions, I think. So, you can do your research and maybe speak with them and see what their approach is and then join.
Yeah. I see one other question that's a little different. Let's see. What else? This keeps moving up when I pull it down. So let's see.
So, Prema, while you look for it, I see one question. Somebody is asking, do we have to go to an immigration lawyer, or can anybody help us? With something like this, I'm sure you agree too, Prema. I would recommend working with an attorney who understands immigration. There are attorneys who specialize in immigration litigation, right? Immigration based litigation. So if you're going to do this, make sure the attorney has experience with immigration matters.
The immigration is very different than just, litigation work. So you definitely want someone who has the litigation experience along with the immigration background, so that you can be properly represented.
So there's one.
There are a lot of questions, but Kalyani, do you want to?
Yeah, so I think one different question came. So there is one question about H-1B extension actually. So if they have non-IT bachelor's degree, what happens with the extension? So I think that same thing applies for filing too. And even my attorneys recommended, like, hey, if you're doing any filings, don't do for non-IT backgrounds, just do only for the IT background. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so you can use experience. So obviously you have to show a connection between your education and experience and the role that you're going to be performing. So if somebody says don't apply if you have a non-IT background, don't apply for an IT role, what they mean is that you should be able to show either by just your education or by a combination of education and experience that you have the credentials to do the job. So there are a lot of people with non-IT education, but they have experience in IT sector, right? And so you can combine that experience and education to qualify for the H-1B. Generally, the rule of thumb is 3 years of experience, IT experience, will account for 1 year of education. So like that, you need to show 4 years of IT education or experience.
We do see a lot of these cases where people have, non-IT education, like an MBA or a bachelor's degree in commerce, but then they've worked for 10 years in the IT sector or in that specific field. So in those cases, like Diya said, we get a combination evaluation equating it to a related degree, and they can still qualify based on that.
Yeah. And I can share my own experience, or I got an RFA for one of the candidates that I filed in on the similar grounds. So we had to go extra length to just to make sure that she has been working in the IT company from past 10 years, but with an MBA. So MBA is a non-IT background, but she has genuine experience on IT side. So we had to show her true experience and also got it evaluated and some certifications around it, and then filed it, and her visa got approved. So if you are applying for it, just make sure that you also add these things, and make sure that during the evaluation showcase that that person has true experience around on technical things. And to your last question, Prema Garu, like if you have time, maybe we can extend for 10 minutes because there are a lot of questions. Otherwise, we have to put something together again, probably in a couple of weeks. However,
I'm okay with it, but Diya, how are you doing on time?
Yeah, we can talk for some more time. Yeah.
talk-
I know
okay.
there's a lot of questions. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I think a lot of people have messaged me directly. So I don't know. Maybe they can send me an email later. I don't know if we can cover all of this in today's session.
Yeah, and one quick thing, can you please register with the link that we have shared? We are going to put more sessions in future because, that's the need that we are looking at. And when we do it, you will obviously get an email, or, we'll be sending frequent communication. So you will get benefited actually. So please go and register with the link that we gave. And also note the link that Tony Garu shared, for the class action thing if you're in that situation. So please make a note of it before we move forward.
And Diya, is it okay for us to give your email for those that would like to consult with you directly?
Sure. Yeah, no problem. I know, students are very anxious, and, it is very sad. So generally I'm telling people, this is what we can do at this time, but we expect more information to unfold, and maybe there'll be, some more guidance that we can give in the next few days, based on the class actions or, the developments. So hang in there, and, as again, but, just follow the precautions, as Prema also said, just be safe, have a good, maybe if you live on campus, maybe just, try to stay away for some time. Be cautious.
Are there any other questions that are a little different than what we have been discussing?
We are not able to unmute, but you can raise your